Yo guys, what is good? It's your boy Jamong here, back again with another video. And today we're going over the worst sneakers of 2025. Alright, so first off, before I begin, if you guys have not seen my most recent video where I go over the best sneakers of 2025, make sure to go check it out afterwards. I definitely love to make these sneaker recaps at the end of the year, and today we are doing the worst sneakers. And by the time this video releases, I anticipate it being 2026, so I just wanted to say to everyone a happy new year. 2025 was definitely an interesting year. There was a lot of goods and bad, but I feel like with sneaker releases, it was overall pretty decent. I feel like in 2025, they brought a lot of stuff back from the past. Obviously, it wasn't as good as the original release or their predecessors. However, I don't think that these sneakers or colorways were all that bad. I think it was just based on preference that some people didn't like them, but there was nothing too crazy where people were like, oh, this is actually ugly. So I'm not gonna lie, in comprising my list of 10 worst sneakers of the year, it was actually pretty hard because I found a lot of good sneaker releases in 2025. But still, there were some exceptions where I saw these colorways and these models and I just thought, what were they thinking when they made this? I feel like every year these sneaker recap videos do decently well. I think a lot of people like it when I talk about these ugly and ridiculous sneaker releases. You don't even have to be a sneakerhead. You could just kind of vibe along with the video and just see how crazy some sneaker colorways and releases actually are. So if you guys can do me the greatest favor and hit that like button and also leave a comment down below. I want this video to reach as many people as possible. But enough talking out of the way, I comprised a list of 10 worst sneakers of 2025. I basically did my research and I kind of looked through all these different sneaker releases throughout the year. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's go. All right, so quick disclaimer, I organized my list to make it so that the sneaker releases get more and more ridiculous as we go down the list. So basically at 10, it's not going to be that bad. On 1, it's probably going to be the worst thing you've ever seen. So at number 10, we actually have a not too bad sneaker release, but it was personally something that I didn't really love. We do have the Jordan 1s in the shattered backboard colorway. Now, this wasn't a sneaker release that was worth flipping out over. Honestly, the shattered backboards are a classic sneaker when it comes to the sneaker community. I think a lot of sneakerheads know that when it comes to the shattered backboards, they're known to have one of the best leather qualities in the game. That's what made the sneaker so great when it first released in 2015. For a time, the shattered backboards were going for about $1,000 for resale price. They're just a regular classic Jordan colorway, nothing too crazy, but the quality of the shoe was absolutely crazy. And when they released this year in 2025, a lot of people were excited to see them again. But honestly, it was never about the colorway that made people go crazy over the shattered backboards. I think that they thought that in bringing back that orange colorway, everyone's gonna love it, everyone's gonna rock it, it's gonna be nostalgic. But again, like I said before, the shattered backboards are known for their leather quality, and this time around, the quality on this shoe was not great. I mean, I actually got them in hand. I wanted to review them for you guys, and they weren't the worst thing in the world. However, they were nowhere near compared to the buttery and soft leather quality that we saw on the original shattered backboards. For that reason, this sneaker basically dipped under retail price. They were sitting in stores. I basically copped one. I went into a Foot Locker and I was able to buy one, and I returned it right after I did the sneaker review just because this was not a popular shoe. I kind of feel like they ruined the hype for the shattered backboards for some sneakerheads. They basically kind of came as a tease where they were like, oh, you can have the shattered backboards, but we're gonna take away that leather quality as well. So I feel like when it comes to this sneaker release, I would honestly rate this effort at a 50%. I mean, they gave us the colorway, yes, but everything else they deprived us with. All right, so moving on to number 9 on the list, we do have the Nike Air Max 90s in the leopard colorway. Now, I don't even remember these releasing this year, but when I was looking through a bunch of sneaker releases throughout the year 2025, I saw a lot of leopard and cheetah print. I don't know why. Is animal print coming back nowadays? Because if it is, honestly, I saw this sneaker and I thought that this is ugly. I don't know how anyone could possibly rock leopard print when it comes to sneakers. Obviously, if you're going for like designer shoes, I think that it can look kind of cool. But when it comes to just regular athletic sneakers like the Air Max 90s, I don't think the animal print should be on this. Now, I know that Nike Air Maxes have had animal print on them in the past, especially those hype collaborations with like Atmos and whatnot. However, this one is just really weirdly done. I feel like if you're gonna pair this with an outfit, if it's not animal print, it's gonna look really, really weird. It's just really loud, and I feel like they also tried to complement the leopard print color with the tan on the back as well, but it just kind of clashes and it does not look good in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but I personally don't like leopard or cheetah print when it comes to sneakers. Again, if you're trying to look rich, you're trying to look wealthy, then great, good for you. But when it just comes to a regular Nike sneaker, it's kind of odd. All right, moving on to number 8 on the list, we do have the Jordan 4 Nets in the black colorway. Now, earlier this year, we got rumors saying that the Black Cat 4s were going to re-release. I bet you can imagine how disappointed sneakerheads were when they found that the Jordan 4 Nets came out. They thought that this was going to be the Black Cat re-release, and they thought they basically tweaked the Black Cats. And these were just like, what was even this thing? It was like a Jordan 4, but with the net lining around it. It looked nothing like a Jordan 4. It looked nothing like a Black Cat 4. And sneakerheads were just disappointed. They were outraged, actually. They were very enraged. I mean, overall, the Jordan 4 Nets just looked very weird. They're very unconventional for a Jordan 4. It's like something that we're not used to. I mean, a Jordan 4 is very timeless and classic, but then when you add this like little tweak to it, it just doesn't look right. Especially if you have like trichophobia, you know, you see all that like the holes with the netting, and that just looks weird. Now, obviously, we did get the Jordan 4 Black Cats later on this year, but a lot of us didn't know that. So we thought that this was going to be the Black Cat 4s. I think that they probably should have just scratched this idea. They should have just given us the Black Cat 4s and not even bother with this. This was kind of like a tease for us. Like, we didn't even know what this was going to be like. And yeah, this was just something that a lot of people don't like, and I'm one of them. Yeah, the more I'm looking at this sneaker, the more weird it just looks. It just doesn't look right as a Jordan 4. Like, why would you put a net on top of it? And there's so much holes going on, and it just, like, how are you even supposed to lace this sneaker? You can just kind of like, oh, this just looks weird. All right, so moving on to number 7 on this list, we do have the Harris Tweed Nike Dunks in the Black Phantom colorway. Yeah, when I saw this color, I just thought that this is something that is ugly. It looks very weird, especially talking about trichophobia, like those like weird patterns. I feel like this definitely is very uneasy on the eyes. It's not just like a black and white sneaker. There's some kind of like knitting pattern going on, and it's almost like an illusion kind of. It just looks odd. It looks very unsettling, and it's not something that I could stare at for too long. I just don't like the overall knitwork of the shoe. Now, I don't really know who Harris Tweed is. I can tell they wanted to make this a unique collaboration, but I just feel like this overall colorway was not it. The aesthetic to it just does not look appealing, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. It just looks weird. Do you guys think that this is ugly? Let me know in the comments, because I feel like it may be my preference and my opinion, but if you guys disagree, let me know, but I just don't think that this one's it. And I even took a closer look at images of the sneaker, and basically the whole entire shoe is like fuzzy. It's kind of like in this, I think it's wool almost like, which, oh my gosh, if this sneaker gets wet, it's going to look very, very soggy. And that's just such an unsettling feeling. Just imagining like wearing these sneakers on your feet and just like slushing around in all that fur if you get caught up in the rain. Like, I feel like they wanted to make the sneaker resemble like a down coat or a long coat or anything like that. But when you put that on a shoe, it's just not right. And then overall, there's just like too many different patterns going on. I feel like maybe if there was like one uniform pattern, it wouldn't be as bad, but there's so many different textures and looks to it. It just does not look natural. Yeah, I don't like the shoe at all. At number 7, we do have the Harris Tweed Nike Dunks. Moving on to number 6 on our list, we do have the Puma La France in the Heat Map colorway. Now, honestly, this sneaker isn't even that bad. I mean, it's ugly for sure, but we've seen crazier sneakers. We're gonna see crazier sneakers later on. So this is why I put this sneaker so high up on our list. Now, I don't know too much about the Puma La France. I don't even know who it's by. All right, so I just looked into it, so it makes sense that basically it's a LaMelo Ball collaboration with Puma, and La France is the name of the sneaker's silhouette. It looks very weird, okay? It just does not look natural. If you guys, have you ever like read The Hungry Caterpillar? That's what I kind of see, the heat map patterning on the shoe, and I associate it with that. Because when you look at a caterpillar and you look at all those different colorways going on, in the Caterpillar, I think of this shoe. I think of the Caterpillar in Bugs Life, and I think of this shoe. So as you guys can tell, this sneaker is something that looks even crazier than what is said in the name. I know that they wanted to kind of match the heat signatures of different things, but I just felt like this overall just reminded me of like Bugs. Not to mention this sneaker is also in this booger green colorway, so it looks very unwearable. I feel like I would not be able to wear this with anything. Maybe if you play ball, but still this is definitely going to get some looks on the court and not in a good way. I do not know what they were thinking when they came out with a shoe like this. Now, other sneakers have done something when it comes to like heat signatures, but they've also done it in a really nice way as well. For example, with Nike Dunks, we saw something with thermal technology that was really, really clever. They could have also done something completely different where the heat signatures are actually running throughout the entire sneaker, as opposed to what they have here where the heat signatures are kind of just little panels running throughout, which again, that just makes me think of the Caterpillars, the Hungry Caterpillar, the Caterpillar from Bugs Life. All of this, very weird sneaker. All right, moving on to number 5 on our list, we do have the Supreme Timberland boots in the patchwork colorway. Now, honestly, if you are someone that is very artistic, someone that likes a lot of colorways, you could probably pull this off. But for most people, this is something that you would never wear out in public yourself. I feel like there's just so many colors going on here, and maybe for like a rain boot this would kind of look a little cute, but when it comes to a Timberland boot, something that we associate with that wheat colorway, that neutral tone, that very wearable shoe, this whole thing just ruins the idea of the Tims. And also, I don't love how even though they have all this rainbow colorway going on, they still have the gum bottoms on the soles. I feel like if you're gonna make the shoe rainbow, make the entire shoe rainbow. Now, don't make the leather on the heel area black, and don't make the gum bottoms, you know, that kind of color. Like, you want to make the entire shoe just pop. I feel like because they kept those two things traditional to what Tims look like, it just kind of contrasts to the rest of the sneaker. Not to mention, they also have those yellow laces too. So that does not match with all the other colorways going on here. Now, I feel like the sneaker conflicts with itself. The colors on it just kind of don't match with each other. And I feel like clowns wouldn't even want to wear this shoe. I know that Supreme sometimes comes out with pretty absurd colorways or collaborations when it comes to these sneakers or these boots, but I feel like this one was definitely a miss. All right, moving on to number 4 on this list, we do have the Yeezy SL01s. Now, overall, this sneaker is not entirely bad for Yeezy. It's pretty standard to what we've seen in the past. However, it's the story behind the shoe that makes it so bad as a sneaker release. So ever since Adidas and Kanye have parted ways, they have not been making any more Yeezys. So I think that Kanye has been making a lot of sneakers himself, and he wants to prove to Adidas that he doesn't need them. So basically what he's doing is that he's releasing a bunch of Yeezys that he's making himself, and he's charging them for only 25 bucks on the website. And I think a lot of people are happy that they could finally get their hands on a Yeezy Slide or a Yeezy Slip-On. But the problem is the shipping is just absolutely ridiculous. You're basically waiting almost like half of a year just for these sneakers to get to you. Also, Yeezy is really bad with communication because they don't really give you any confirmation that your order is good to go. From what I've heard, basically they just kind of appear at your door 6 months later. They don't even let you know when they shipped out or when the order is processing. So a lot of people are just questioning, is it really worth getting these for 25 bucks? Also, I've heard that the packaging on this shoe is very bad as well. They only give you like a sack, like a cloth, and then they come in a poly mailer as well. They don't really give you a box or a shoe box. So overall, it is very poorly executed. I think Kanye wants to make Yeezys affordable, but he's doing it in a way where it's cheap, it is inconvenient, it's not getting to people, and he's not communicating with his customers. So a lot of people are actually very upset over these $25 sneakers. Looking at other sneaker reviews too, again, this shoe does not look too bad. I feel like for Yeezy, it's something that we've seen before. However, it's just one single material made with EVA foam, and the foam isn't even that comfortable. Again, what you pay is what you get, and for 25 bucks, you're not gonna get the same materials that people would normally get when it comes to the Adidas Yeezys. He really wanted to take a different approach to sneakers and making them much cheaper. However, I just feel like his time in sneakers are over. Now, he's not gonna have as tight of a chokehold on the sneaker community as he used to. I feel like that ship has long sailed. Unfortunately, the age of Yeezys are over. All right, moving on to number 3 on our list, we do have the Nardwuar Nike SB Dunk Lows in the Tam O'Shanter hat colorway. I think that they're trying to be a little festive for the holidays. You know, plaid is very Christmas themed, but on a shoe, this just looks very, very interesting. I like the little pom-pom ball on the tongue. I feel like that's a nice feature, but just the overall colorway of the shoe, the whole plaid patchwork going on does not work out. I don't know why anyone would want to wear this. Again, I think it has a really nice Christmas theme to it, but other than that, the other 364 days of the year, you probably cannot get away with wearing this sneaker. On top of the black laces, they also come with other colorways like yellow, green, red, and blue. I don't know, I think besides blue maybe, if you add any of the other colorways, it's gonna look even worse. I haven't heard of this collaboration before. I didn't even know that the sneaker was releasing, but I think it is definitely one of the worst sneaker releases we have seen in 2025. All right, and moving on to number 2 on our list, the runner-up, we do have the Vans Old School 36 LX and the Souvenir Pack Warm Brown colorway. Now, I know when it comes to sneakers, a lot of brands like to have that deconstructed look. Sometimes they look a little worn, and that's perfectly fine. Usually, if you're a designer brand, that's the kind of aesthetic you're trying to go for. So I've seen with like Maison Margiela, Common Projects, they've done stuff like this. But when you're just Vans, basically, if I wanted my Vans to look like this, I'm gonna go outside and I'm just going to wear them for maybe 2 weeks straight in the rain, in the snow, and just get them all beat up and dirty, and I'll eventually get this look in no time. Just looking at the upper, it looks crusty. It looks like there's moss growing out of it. The toe box looks like it's all muddy, and it's just a very dirty looking shoe. I don't know why anyone would want to rock something like this. And then even with the Vans logo, the stripe running across the shoe, that whole pink look just does not look good. It does not match well with the whole green mossy color and orange. Oh man, I just kind of like, it looks like you just threw up on this sneaker. Literally, that's what it is. And honestly, this could definitely pull off as a #1 worst sneaker of 2025, but it actually gets worse. And finally, the worst sneaker release that we have seen in the year 2025 goes to the Balenciaga Zero sneaker. I'm just gonna let you guys take it in for a second. I'm gonna show you what they look like on feet. All right, these are pictures of people wearing them. And even worse, I'm going to tell you how much this sneaker goes for on the retail market. On Balenciaga, this sneaker goes for $475. Oh my gosh. For those of you guys that are like, I don't know how sneakerheads could possibly pay thousands of dollars for a pair of Jordans. Well, I'd rather spend tens of thousands of dollars on sneakers than paying $400 for this piece of garbage. I think that this is something that's like made out of plastic or cardboard. I don't even want to see the sneaker in person. Because if you're wearing this out, what's the point of even wearing shoes? Like, all it does is just secure your big toe, but the rest of your toes are exposed. They're gonna be cold. You're gonna slip off. What happens if you gotta run? Now, again, I know that this is Balenciaga and I know they're trying to make a statement about it, but who in the world would pay $400 for something like this? You're basically setting your money on fire. Are these even comfortable? I don't even know of anyone that has worn these. I definitely gotta watch a review, but I feel like if someone has been paying for these, they're absolutely, I'm sorry, if you're paying for them, I need to know what's going through your head. So I feel like with the other sneakers, you could possibly bring up an argument for why they are maybe nice, why they don't deserve to be on the top 10 worst sneakers of the year. But with their #1 spot, there is no discussion, okay? The reason why this sneaker is so bad is because basically 95% of it is missing. And it's going for $400. Sorry for the little crash out sesh. All right. So yep, here on our list, we have the Balenciaga Zero sneakers. I mean, the reason why they call it that is because you're basically getting 0% of the shoe. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up my video for today. Now I'll hear from you guys. Of my 10, which is the worst sneaker release of 2025 in your opinion? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you guys like the video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you guys want to hear more from me, smash the subscribe button because more will be on the way. Again, these were the top 10 worst sneakers of 2025. And I'll see you guys next year. Peace.